So good evening, my lovely yogis. Joining me on your mat and just choosing how you want to start, lying down or seated, whatever your body needs this evening. And just tuning into that. I'm tuning into myself and know that I just need something quite sort of gentle, restorative this evening. Other times you might be full of beans. So just listening to kind of where your battery is. I like to think of ourselves sometimes as a little battery. And while we're on our mat, we can charge up our solar plexus above our navel, which is the plexus that does hold the energy. It's the biggest plexus and with the most sort of directions and channels that lead off. So it is like our little powerhouse internally. And it resonates with the sun, the solar plexus. So it is again similar to a battery. So have a few moments, take a few deep breaths, maybe a long sigh. And just let your body relax. This might be the first time today that you've really connected with how your body feels. All the parts that you can start to relax now. Notice if you've been holding a lot of mental clutter, mental, questions, things needing solutions, whether you've been analysing things today. Because sometimes you can have the most restful day sitting physically, but have the most intense day of mental activity. Sometimes it can be lovely and challenging and illuminating to try new things or explore a different way round of doing something that you're used to. But it can still impact how much energy you're using. Notice your breath. Does it feel easy? Is there a little bit of restriction there? And so after you've had these few moments of lying or sitting and resting, we're going to come to a seated position. So if you're lying down, have a nice long stretch. And in your own time, you can just begin to draw the knees in for a lovely little rock and hug. And if you're seated and you just want to kind of roll the shoulders, have a little flex through the spine before we come to another stillness for about 5 minutes. We'll do mindfulness of breath today because it's a nice way to relax, but also just to kind of follow a pattern of counting and breath. Sometimes stops the mind wandering too much when we're doing something. So the 4 parts to mindfulness of breath. We'll count the out breath, 1 to 10. Then we'll switch over, count the in breath, 1 to 10. The 3rd part will stop the count. And by that time, the 4th part is where we're really kind of tuned in to being mindful of the whole breathing process. And I particularly like to really focus on the temperature around the nostrils, how the rib cage expands and contracts, and the belly movement. So really just tuning into everything that's going on mechanically with the breath. This often takes about 5 minutes, but I'll time it as well. So rest your hands. Just let your eyelids close. And then when we're ready, we'll count the out breath. 1 to 10. Don't rush the breath. There's plenty of time for this. It's a nice slow breathing. And every out breath gives you that opportunity to relax a bit more. After 10, counting the in-breath. After those 10, just stop counting. And then just really tuning into how it feels to breathe. And then just take a few more breaths. And coming back. How did that feel this particular evening practicing that? Were you deep in thought, or could you stay with the breath? Was it relaxing overall? That's always the benefit that we have there. Okay, so coming off cushions, we'll start with butterfly. This is a nice preparation for swan that we're going to do a bit later on. Nice hip opener. If you need support under the thighs, just pop a couple of blankets or cushions there. And then just see how the body feels in this gentle fold forwards. This is a familiar pose, but how does it feel today? What tightness are you holding through your body? Just drawing the awareness of your breath to your belly. And when you feel like you can, relaxing into the shoulders and head and neck. How do you feel in this pose emotionally this evening? Is it a welcome feeling? Is it challenging? Do you feel like you can get the full breath into the body, even in this forward fold? Relax your face if you can. Soften through the cheeks and the jaw. Just be aware if any of the sensations you're feeling in this pose are deepening, if they're intensifying. And we'll just take a few more breaths here. And slowly lifting up and coming out. How does that feel today? For me, I can really feel it more intensely today, even though it's a familiar pose that I'm very used to. It's really interesting what your body reveals at different times. Every moment that we have is a new moment. We've never had it before, so we're going to be a different person each time we come onto our mat. Even though we expect to feel what we're likely to feel, that's just our programming, habit. So relaxing as much as you can. Just let everything feel soft in your body. Keep checking every now and then if you're still holding a bit of tension in the muscles in your back. And noticing where you might feel the chi move. chi, prana, meaning our life force. So let's bring our knees in. Little hug and a rock. And so we'll roll up, come onto the belly for seal. To counterpose the curve to the forward fold of the spine, I'm going to take a little blanket under the base of the ribs, just to feel a little extra support today. Blanket or cushion will work for you, just to see what feels nice. And if you have a block and you wish to, you can pop it under the forehead. And just feeling into this pose, just noticing where you're comfortable in this curve into the lumbar. Relaxing your legs. Try not to keep them rigid and straight, just let them relax. The heels may rock to the centre. And in this pose, you can really enjoy some low breath to the belly, feeling it open into the lower back and then expand into the chest. Try to relax into your forearms, your hands and wrists. And just being aware of the thoughts that come and go. Whether you can be aware that you're thinking those thoughts and that conscious observer. Noticing how you feel in every passing moment of present moments of now. How do you feel in this moment? Just keep checking through your body. Just rotate your awareness all around, looking for any tightness. Just have a moment to become aware of your shoulders and whether they are very close to your ears or whether you can just drop them a little and relax. And in one more breath. Lifting your head. And then coming into Shavasana. Take a moment. Nice slow movement out of seal. Sometimes the movement in between the poses, coming down, as we come down into Shavasana, can be just as interesting and keeping your attention and focus on everything that you feel in your body. Certain poses that you hold for, any length of time can be quite intense. And so coming out of it, you really have to be very aware of every sensation you feel. It's hard not to be very present in those moments. They're the lovely part about yoga and how we become ever so more body conscious. So relaxing. Hopefully feeling a nice little sense of relief in the lower back. And then we'll gently draw the knees in. We're going to come into swan. But if you can't do swan as we normally do it, then this is reverse swan, where you have your knees bent and you bring one foot across to the other knee, and then you hug around the thigh and draw it towards the chest to whatever degree. So that is a less intense and a sort of an alternative version of swan. So do that one if that feels better for you. Otherwise, coming on to all fours, and then you can draw the right knee forwards. As you do so, just position the right foot in front of the left thigh. So I'll show you from this point of view, your foot is just sort of in front of the other leg. The idea would be to bring the kind of your shin up level, but not everybody can do that. Grab a cushion, pop it under your right buttock, because that often just gives you that little thing to rest on. It's quite supportive. Encourage you to stop rolling onto that side as well. So it's nice to start in upright swan. And here you can just begin to relax through the legs. Enjoy a nice little curve into the lumbar arch. Stimulating for wrists and hands and your arms. And just that few moments to tune into how your breathing feels. And then in your own time, only if you wish, it's nice to come down onto your elbows or stretch the arms out in front of you and bring the whole chest and forehead down. Just wherever that feels good for you this evening. This is a deep compressive pose. Lovely for all the meridians in your legs. especially your stomach and your spleen. Keep relaxing. If you feel like you can come lower and it feels nice to do so, you can. Relax the shoulders and head and neck. Notice your thoughts. Just following the breath all through your body. Notice in this pose whether you are tense in your abdomen. So, one or two more breaths here. And then we'll gently come up. Take your time to lie down. I do love this pose. It really does reveal a very different sensation from one side of your body, your legs, to the other. Where do you feel the tingly and the shift in temperature? What are your feelings in the after effects of the pose? And as you lie here, you might think you know what the next side, the left side, will feel like. But let's come into it with a sort of an open mind, be curious. So when you're ready, let's draw our knees in. Take a nice long moment to rock. If you need to roll in circles, it's quite nice to sort of just feel the outer edge of the back. And then we'll come up. For the other side of swan, Again, if you're doing the reverse version, just swap over the legs. So this side we'll have the left knee bent, right leg extends behind you. Try not to rock into that left hip, keeping the hips nice and forward facing like headlights. And then just feeling into how this feels. I often find people have one side of the body a bit more, I don't know, resistant or tighter. So just noticing how it feels today. Trying to relax, even if you're in the upright position still, softening into the belly and the front part of your body. Let the breath be deep to the belly and soft. Relaxing buttocks and thighs. And then anytime you're ready, you can come down to whichever level you prefer. When you're in these poses, notice if you do have like a little internal battle in your mind. Whether there are awkward feelings. And then notice as the pose goes on whether those feelings that might have started off not negative but uncomfortable, whether they soften, whether there's a feeling of giving way and letting go. We all know those feelings when we don't particularly want to do something in life. But actually when we're doing it or in it, it isn't what we entirely thought. Relax the belly. Try and loosen any abdominal muscles that tend to tighten. Notice if you're tense in your arms. You might find as you've been in this pose for some time whether there is a little bit more space and you're lowering a little bit more. So take a breath. Coming up slowly. resting down. Our next pose is going to be bridge. So if you have a block to hand, you can just bring it closer to you. But just have a few moments here, explore what sensations you're feeling through the left side of your body and the leg, the sole of your foot. Relax the belly back, sides of your waist. Sometimes the longer you lie here, just a few more moments, you'll feel the chi start to move. It's a little bit more prominent. So gently we're going to bring the knees in. Enjoy our rock. So for supported bridge pose next, we'll use a block. If your back feels fine, you can come onto the top height. If you're feeling a bit tender or there's some issues with your back, you can just have it on the lower level, whichever feels right for you. Sometimes even if you're just feeling like I want to be closer to the earth, then the lower level can work. Otherwise, so feet towards your buttocks, lift your body, place the block on that little flat part of the sacrum that almost lines up with the top of the buttocks. You'll know where it feels fairly comfortable and not resting the lower lumbar back on the block. And then relaxing your shoulders. Try and keep the head straight in this posture. So the two places I'll draw your awareness to that I find do tend to tense up are the thighs and buttocks, and then the sort of shoulders and upper part of your back where you're resting on the mat. Just keep rotating your awareness to these two places, because the minute you relax, I often find that you might tense up again. So thighs and buttocks, and then shoulders and upper back. And then when you do finally relax, just start to enjoy the deep breathing. It's lovely for the parasympathetic nervous system. Allow the belly to soften and release any tightness in the abdominal muscles. Gently the chin may tuck in and you can feel a little bit more length in the neck. How do you feel? Is this quite a supportive pose? Can you really let all your weight rest on the block? Notice where your shoulder blades are, whether they're tense. Just notice if there's a little bit more relaxation you can take in the inner thighs. And then gently, one more breath. It's nice to sort of lift onto your toes. So you can lift your body clear of the block and then slowly roll down with intention. Just taking a few moments. That's a really lovely one for your lower back. Perhaps as you lie here now, you can feel like it just feels a little bit more vibrant and spacious, and like there's some energy moving around here. So lovely for your sacral chakra. But bridge pose is also lovely for your solar plexus, your heart and your throat. Some poses really do cover a few different energy centers. It's really nice. Okay, so bring your right knee in, then your left knee. And as you rock here, you can probably feel where the block was and just rolling around, massaging that area if it feels tender. Sometimes it feels just stimulated. And then for our last pose, a lovely relaxing bench. Roll up, grab your cushion. So it's nice to consider all the movements that we've made through our practice. Forward, gentle back bends. Bridge was lovely for lower back. And then this bench is really nice for your upper spine. If you have your blanket handy, you had earlier, if you want to, you can just pop it over your legs as you lie down. Taking this cushion, I'd say 3 or 4 inches away from the body and then relaxing back. Just change it if you need to. Make sure that your neck feels supported. It's always nice to have a second blanket handy, I think. Just in case one day, for whatever reason, you just feel that you need a bit more support around the neck area. Take a nice long sigh and relax. If you've got the space, you can take your arms a little bit wider or even level with your shoulders. If you want to, you can take them overhead. Whatever you feel like. And you'll feel a different sensation through your arms and your chest. A really lovely supportive pose, this one. It just feels like the breath can be gentle and easy. I think if you're ever having a hard time emotionally, this is probably, as with heart bench, one of the nicer poses to come into. Lying back over it, you feel supported. It's working with the upper chakras, so emotional support. Often with emotional challenges, we find it hard to express ourselves. So the fact that we're opening through our throat here can be quite balancing on this energy, our communication. Does your face feel relaxed? Can you loosen around your forehead and around your eyes? Just let your lower jaw soften. Just check in with your neck, whether any alteration relaxes it a little bit more. So just join me with one more breath here. Notice if you're reluctant to come out of this pose. And then just lifting up, pull your cushion away, come straight down, and just feel the difference. So as that sensation fades gently, we can come into relaxation. If you want to stay lying down and just pull over a blanket or a cushion under the knees, you can do. If you need to rock for a moment and draw the knees in. And if you prefer coming to seated, you can do. Whatever feels right. Get yourself nice and warm. So softening your body, relaxing. And so this morning, as I took a walk with my little dog, I noticed the daffodils coming up in a few little patches. They're still green, the stalks, the flower hasn't unfurled. But the thoughts it gives me, and if you can imagine this in your own mind, as that beauty is yet to open. We have to be patient and wait for it to open in its own time, as nature allows, as nature dictates, that everything is in a cyclical movement. Even through winter and the cold months when nothing seems to really move, nothing seems to change, it's all a bit still. There's still a lot going on beneath the surface, down deep in the earth, there's lots happening. Sometimes our life can be like that. Things don't seem to really be shifting or changing. We're dealing with a situation that just seems stagnant. But if we can come back to the rhythms of nature, nothing is permanent. Nothing is ever the same. Everything is always changing, whether we like it or not. And often for the better in the long term, sometimes the short term. So in your mind, or if you can think of a recent walk where you have noticed just the beginnings of spring, those little signs that before we know it, we'll be looking at the daffodils, the tulips may be up, the sound of spring comes, the smell, the brighter days. The mornings are starting to feel a little bit lighter. And the days are gradually getting longer. What does that feel like for you? So just sitting with those thoughts, not long, just a little bit longer, while things are still growing and emerging, and then spring will be upon us. So gently now, notice where your thoughts were just then, whether they were still lingering on the seasons or drifted off somewhere completely different. How the mind has a mind of its own sometimes. Beauty of yoga is to bring it back to into control. Like wild horses, we're taming our mind, being present, conscious of our awareness. Have a deep breath in and a long sigh out. Notice how good you feel this little bit of time for yourself on the mat to just commune with yourself, to listen in truthfully into the body, into the depths. And so just starting to now wiggle fingers and toes, bring a little bit of movement and energy back into the body. Rocking the head, tilting the head. Roll the shoulders. Explore what you're feeling. And then if you're lying down, just enjoying a stretch. And then a rock. Set an intention before you go to sleep. Perhaps a lovely restorative sleep, deep sleep, feeling completely renewed and refreshed in the morning. So coming up to seated when you're ready. And then we can bring our hands together. Om Shanti. Namaste.